Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand of the company Horns of Odin. As always, before we start the show, I do have to plug our Patreon. But before you all skip this little bit, I do have a slight announcement for a really exciting guest that we've booked on the 31st of October, our Halloween episode. We have booked the lovely Caroline Larrington and one of my, I would say, top 5 guests I've ever wanted on the podcast, and that's Kat Jarman, the amazing scholar. So we're going to be talking to those on the 31st of October. So keep that in your diary. We will be recording at 3 p.m., which is earlier than our usual time. But with that said, if you can, please pop over to Patreon/Nordic Mythology podcast. Have a look on there. You get access to the whole entire back catalogue. At this point, we've done 280 episodes, so there's 250 episodes on there that you can't get anywhere else. It starts from £3 a month, and your support literally keeps the podcast going. If you can, 5-star rating, positive review wherever you get your podcast, that also helps. As everybody can probably tell, I'm speaking super quick so we can get into the episode because I'm mindful of this gentleman's time. So first, I would like to introduce our lovely co-host and in-house archaeologist, Mags Havgar.
Hello, hello, hello.
There we go. That lovely voice is Mags. And our guest today is Finnish actor, author, screenwriter, and director. I think we've also missed musician off here, as you have done some singing as well, I believe. Most people will know him as his role as Harald Finehair in the epic TV show Vikings. So our guest is Peter Franzén. Peter, thank you for joining us.
Love to be here. Thank you. Thank you for asking me over.
Yeah, thank you for... I'm glad that we kind of got to do it. I know you're a busy gentleman. You had me pestering you to put it nicely.
No, then you haven't been pestering me at all. You've been pushing me a little bit to answer back, and sorry for being lazy or sluggish in my answers. I've been quite busy, but one should be prompt and answer the questions and nice inquiries. But we're here. I guess that's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. We got here, and you didn't have to reply. You are a very busy man, so even just the initial kind of interest was very, was lovely and appreciated. So let alone us actually getting here to do this. Because you're in Lapland at the minute?
I'm in the south of Finland, close to Helsinki, in my cabin, basically.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple of days off from the shoot, and I'm going back to the Lapland area, which is like 800 kilometers from here. So we're gonna start shooting there. I'm going to start shooting there next, 10th, whatever, the next week, or no, it's still late this week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, same with me. It's like, what week, what date, where are we?
Yeah.
I'm
so
sure
that's going to be
together.
A little bit, yeah.
What is it that you're... Sorry, I was just saying, what is it that you're filming? How much?
Yeah, there's it's public. It's a Finnish-German film. It's about the Second World War, the last stages of the Second World War here in Finland, when Finland had to fight the Germans as well. I mean, they fought the Russians and became an enemy, and then because Finland was allied with Germany, because nobody else helped Finland against the Ruskies. I'm sorry. So now because they lost the war, so now they have to chase the Germans out of Finland. So it's that phase at the very end, and it's a true story. A story about 7 women. Actually, it's the angle is a little bit different than perhaps most of the Finnish war movies. There are young soldiers, about young soldiers, and then these 7 women that are accused of being spies or against Finnish government because they were they hooked up with German officers, and they were, going to get married with them and all that, because 3-4 years of working together. These ladies were secretaries and nurses and such, and now the Finnish army prosecuted these ladies, and it's about their march about 400 kilometers from Lapland, further down south to Oulu, to a tribunal. So it's about that basically. It's quite interesting, dramatic, and there's a lot of depth, drama depth in it.
That sounds really interesting. Like it I remember we were taught about, Second World War from a Norwegian perspective, and then we got to the rest of the Nordic countries and Scandinavia. And then I remember my teacher was like, now we're going to have a break, and then we're going to learn about what it was like in Finland. And we were like, okay. And then we learned about it, and we were all like, oh, wow. Okay. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, it was a bit different than in Norway, yeah.
Yep.
I have these little moments on the podcast around all topics where I have a little light bulb of, I never really thought of that before. And that was one just then, of when you said Finland had, obviously Germany to the south and Russia to the east. And it's just like, again, it's we're all taught, for the most part, Germany, the Allied, and then the Allied forces, Britain, USA. That's kind of the hub that a lot of people are taught in World War II. And yeah, just you saying that made me straight away, which actually that is a really horrible kind of place to be with these two powers either side, and clearly it gives access to the north of Europe as well. So it's an important strategic point to take Finland. I never thought of it before.
Yeah, Finland has always been like this battleground in a way, and shared a lot of the same things as Ukrainians are enduring now. But of course, the Ukrainian skirmish is perhaps more known to the world, and of course it's contemporary, and it affects us all. But the Second World War was kind of interesting. Russia attacked Finland. We call it the Winter War, and they claimed that Finns attacked Russia, but like in Ukraine, that was not the case. And then luckily Finns were quite resourceful, even though our army was so small that it was like 10-1. I mean, there were 10 troops against, basically 10 soldiers against one Finnish soldier. So it was an impossible task. But Finns fared the Winter War, and then there was a small truce, and then we call it the Continuation War, where Finns had allied with Germany, and with the funds and rations from there. From Germany, Finns took back the land that the Russians had taken, and of course that was not a good coalition. But they granted Germans the passage to the ice sea, and of course Germans and Brits and everybody wanted the nickel that Finland had up by the ice sea that is now Russia. Called Petsamo, and there was a nickel mine that was owned by funded by the Brits. And so there was this nickel mine urge, because nickel is used, of course, for weapons and such. And of course, everybody were interested in the biggest. Nowadays, it's the biggest iron ore mine in the world, I guess, in Sweden.
Oh wow!
Kiruna. So that's like the bread and butter of and the gold of Sweden. So everybody wanted to have that too, and so that's what it was a really, really interesting, crazy time here up in the Nordic countries. And actually, I'm a part of this company called Entrance, and this is a northern a company, media company up in northern Finland, and we produce reality TV, usually something to do with nature, but we've done this amazing documentary called Untold Arctic Wars, and we've done 2 seasons, and it's such an informative docu-series that I highly recommend you to watch it and learn more about it, because it's about Finland, it's about our Nordic countries during that time period, and then the second season is about the Cold War era. And it was purchased by Disney, and it's been all over the world. So you can get it from Disney.
Okay.
Oh,
National Untold Arctic Wars.
Untold Arctic Wars. Interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a big piece of Norway, of course, as well, and Sweden, and all about all this. Yeah,
it's so fascinating, because I feel so ignorant sometimes to the other areas, but I guess you can't.
The world is quite big, Dan.
You can't know everything, but then you feel quite. I feel quite guilty sometimes of not knowing that much about these areas that are relatively close and would have had a huge impact on, the rest of Europe. I think the only thing that I've kind of learned about from that time period is did Finland have the greatest ever sniper or something like that? Is it the White Death, who was
Simo Häyhä?
Was it like that's it? Yeah, that's the only kind of one that I picked up through my learning of different things of this ridiculously good sniper who I believe used an iron sight and not an optical sight.
Yeah, he just had a normal rifle that he used when he was hunting, and he was a very small guy by stature, but he had been shooting and hunting. He was a farmer, so hunting all his life, and the scope would have lifted his head a little bit higher, so he had it's like a target size advantage, so you diminish yourself when you're not on the scope. And he had an interesting array of tricks, especially in the winter, during Winter War. That was the only part where he took part in the 105 days of Winter War against Russia. At the very end, was it like a week before the war ended, the first Winter War, he got wounded in the face he got shot by an exploding bullet. It was forbidden, but Russians don't give a shit about the rules, right? So, but he stayed alive and died when he was 80 something. It was quite a man.
Prosthetics, the early. Yeah, absolutely. But I didn't expect us to get into World War II Finnish history.
Well,
obviously, it's fascinating. Something that I'm going to dig into after, and certainly check out those documentaries. But I guess we do have to talk about the Vikings TV show. And
let's do it.
I would say where most people probably know you from, I think that
at least from our audience,
certainly our audience.
Guess.
The gaming world has to be Alan Wake 2, which was a colossal hit as well. But certainly our audience is the Harald Finehair, who I, to be honest, Peter, didn't like when you first came into the show. I was like, who's this guy? He's messing up the status quo. He's gonna ruin everything for the Lothbrooks. I don't like this.
The knowing smile from you, Peter.
Is that something you could tell as soon as you went into it? Because there isn't really a good guy in Vikings either. They're all shitty people, really. There's not
pretty much
them are good, but you were kind of a bad guy amongst a bad group.
Yeah. So he was the creator Michael Hurst told me from the beginning that this character is a sort of a slow burner, that he would be more he would write more into the series for Harald Finehair and me, while we wouldn't if he stayed alive, because it was quite shaky. I mean, to be an actor on Vikings, if people didn't seem to, or Michael didn't seem to like the character, so heads could have rolled easily, and he started to like it more and more.
Because obviously I'm not from the acting world. I don't understand how shows like this work. Is it a case of the character's arc isn't written all the way through until the end? It can just be cut short if maybe it doesn't resonate in a season.
Yeah, that was the case, and nobody knew how many. We had a guarantee of how many episodes you would work on during the season, but I was quite happy to have usually more episodes added on to the season that was originally planned, and luckily Michael Hurst and the audience seemed to latch on to Harold's escapades and his yearn for love and power and the normal violent shenanigans of the Vikings series and the world, and I was really happy to be in it. Of course, it was a fantastic experience for 4 years almost, and then the way Michael and the MGM and the production companies involved, Take Five from Canada, was in it as well, and they loved to let us contribute as actors to be a part of figuring out how the character arc would sort of, which direction it should be going. And Michael was really always asking us that, okay, now that you know the character better than I do, let's sit down and have a glass of wine or a bottle of wine and eat well and talk about it. And sometimes there were good ideas that he took in, and it's amazing to see your ideas in some scenes that, okay, he actually took it, and then we ran with it and created it, woven it into the series. And yeah, a little bit, yeah. So it was I don't believe that there are many series that have had that luxury for the actors to not go exactly by the lines, and of course when the lines were written, they were the lines, but you could contribute on your own for your own character. So that was rather amazing, like a full experience.
Do you like that as an actor, that you get that freedom? Because again, I imagine if I became an actor for whatever, some weird reason, tomorrow I woke up and I was an actor, I feel like I would want somebody to be like, you have to say this line at this moment. I guess it makes it probably a little bit linear, but I know safely I'm doing the right thing at least.
That's always a relief, because in a way, that part of acting is fantastic. I'm a writer, like you said, and I've directed and produced a film of my own, and that's a huge responsibility. So being an actor, you're basically responsible only for yourself and being prepared and showing up, and then you do your bit, and then you play with other people and collaborate and live in the moment. And it's quite a liberating moment for a lot of reasons. And now that Michael let us in like that, it sort of took us in more, and we felt like, okay, this is a big family that will make this together. So that was a fantastic way of hooking us in, like being loyal and happily so. So it was it was very interesting. Yeah,
it's lovely to hear, because I don't know what it is about the Viking TV shows, because we've had Alexander Drimmer on here as well, who of the Last Kingdom. Obviously, the two shows were around at the similar sort of time, and they seem to have a very similar feel of a family, tight knit group who could communicating and kind of pitch ideas. And I wonder if it's something about the topic or what I don't know, allows that freedom. Maybe it's we've said on the podcast a lot about how the source material is quite open. So maybe again, when you're putting that into a story, there isn't whilst there is a story to kind of take and use. You have, Harald Finehair, his stories from the sagas. It's spread across maybe 7 or 8 sagas, and it's little bits that are put together to create a story. So maybe because there is that openness, it feeds through into the script somehow and allows that openness. Or maybe not. I don't know. That was just
maybe of course. When you have a production, especially with that caliber, our production was just mind-blowingly huge. Of course, the background is checked multiple times, and the history is read right and tried to sort of integrate it into being entertaining as well. And in Vikings, it succeeded quite splendidly in that sense, taking brilliant people in, hooking people in towards our Nordic mythology and beliefs, and the way of living, and the way of seeing things. So I'm sure the Viking series sort of wanted to show the best possible stories from the history, and of course there are things combined because it's drama and it's fiction in that sense. But like our characters were mixed with other historical characters and so forth. But of course, like mine was a real guy from Norway, of course, and yeah, the first king that unified Norway, and so it was, and there were lots of scholars that were helping Michael and the team to go through that, and linguistics, and of course the Old Norse that we spoke in it was closer to the modern day Icelandic than maybe the real Old Norse, but everything was
sure. But I mean, it
unless we found somebody from the Viking Age, I think we would be struggling to get it accurate.
When it comes to stuff like that, I'm very much like, well, everyone has done their best, and ultimately we are speaking about, pun intended, a dead language. So there's only as close as we can get to a certain extent.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think like we're doing the best we can. Either it works or it doesn't.
And you'll never please everybody.
No
matter what. Well, even us, we have an historical podcast. We try to keep it entertaining, but we have some of the best scholars from around the world. Like I said at the top of the show, we have Kat Jarman and Caroline Larrington coming on to talk about Shield Maidens, 2 of the most qualified people you could ever get to talk about this topic. And I guarantee when we put that episode out, there will be a bunch of people who are just like, no, that's wrong. That's incorrect. So it's just impossible, especially in a topic like the Vikings that people...
Well, I mean, women and the military, it's always a contentious topic, no matter how you twist or turn.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sure Catherine Winnick got a lot of stick, I guess, on all sides for that as well in Vikings.
Well, I'm sure she got more love than anything else.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But there's always the few, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with Harold, I say I had a love-hate, because it started off very frustrating and dislike, because like I say, it's messing up the status quo. Ragnar was such a loved character. I can't think of a show that has a character that the people just gripped to like the Ragnar character. I don't know what it was. about, because he's not necessarily, again, he's not necessarily a nice guy. You know, he has his bad moments, but he just was so iconic, and to carry on the show without him is incredibly brave, and shows a testament to the world that was built, you know, from that character. But you had your character who then comes and challenges that, and challenges the kind of the world, the family. But then you have your love story side of things that makes you a little more human and a little more likable, I guess. And you have, you know, a lot of honor. You, spoiler, end up killing your own brother. See, it's this kind of human aspect to it comes through and into it, and you're like, oh, actually, I quite like him. He's not that bad.
Yeah, that was the point, and I was really eager to sort of try to press it towards the emotional side as well, so that there would be something, you know, real to grasp on, and like in Travis's character Ragnar, there, of course, the popularity of the character is hugely because of Travis. He's a fantastic guy, amazing actor, and really the character, and mischievous and whatever, and
he's exceptionally charismatic, isn't he? I guess that comes.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the balance there. He was emotional in it, and I mean, I believe that I've played a lot of kind of dubious characters or violent characters, and I try to put some kind of human aspect in every character like that. That makes them more acceptable or approachable. And if it's just a character completely a cold, emotionless killer or whatever, rapist, that's disgusting. So it's of course in a show that runs longer like this one, and a character development becomes evident during the time, and of course when you have the possibility, you will try to use all your power to get into that character and be that character, and of course in that process you give something from yourself, and luckily Michael Hurst accepted you know the emotions, the warm side of my character, and then it was urging me, and I'm sure other actors too, to show that humane side as well. So he was, of course, wanting to see deeper into every character. So and I believe I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that that's something that I really, really appreciate about shows like Vikings, because, you know, when you have characters that are based off of sagas, regardless of whether we can say if they were actually real or not, the sagas are not necessarily very emotional in a way. Well, they can describe emotion or like causes of emotion, but you never really get inside of people's heads. So sometimes, to me at least, and I'm speaking here as an academic who sometimes reads the sagas, to me people almost feel like paper cutouts sometimes, because I'm like, but what is happening with you? What are you actually like? That's something I really appreciate about, like, but that's what makes you a person, is how you act and how you feel. And having emotions is kind of like, we can't get around that. Some things that's in us.
Yeah, that's where we step into play, and that's of course entertainment at its best when it makes you cry and laugh, and fear for fear for the character's life, survival, and all that. So it's of course that's the main thing to no matter what kind of a character it is, you have to somehow like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of horror, so I've watched a lot of not bad characters in badly done, as in evil characters, but I think the ones that stand out and resonate are always the ones that sometimes they make you like them, or they're very likable people, or they're very human, and they sometimes show emotion and sadness, but they also do very
The
evil things. It
worst thing.
adds a depth to it, but also, I guess, it's unsettling because you never know whether they're going to be nice or evil or what side you're going to get.
Yeah.
But also, you kind of like them, but you don't like them. And although Harold isn't necessarily an out-and-out villain, you get that with it of like, is he going to steal everything and take the throne, or is he going to get on with Bjorn and have a coalition and they're going to all maybe live happily? What's going to happen? And I enjoy, and that's obviously a testament to your acting, that you get that feeling of kind of like, I like him, but I don't like him, and that's.
Yeah, I guess in horror and suspense movies in general, when you have a fantastic role with a lot of depth, and you can add on to it as well, and of course, if you're portraying a serial killer, it's a juicy part to and then the undertone that is super dangerous and unpredictable, and of course that is what Vikings characters were a little bit like, a little crazy, but human beings, and that I'm sure makes them interesting as well.
Yeah,
you get that with Ivor the Boneless, that kind of unhinged settleness as well, and the most terrifying serial killer for me would be Ted Bundy, because you have a gentleman who just could live a normal life, pass as very likable, very not just kind of accepted by the norm, liked by most people, and then also on the flip side doing the most horrendous acts anybody could think of. And I think that's what makes it terrifying, is that juxtaposition of kind of being able to, that evil is evil, and if somebody's just all out and out evil, that's what they are, I guess. But being able to act and be normal and we'll call it like fit in, but then also have that side, is there's just something so much more unhinged to it. It's just so.
That's we don't.
I love how you're having kind of a hard time describing it, Dan.
we have a perfect example from modern day life. People are blue-eyed. Wanting to trust people like some of the leaders of the state, and our next door neighbor, Russians had Mr. Vladimir. People thought that, okay, he's a modern kind of a statesman now. Mm-hmm. But I never thought so. A lot of the Finns said, no, that's not the case. I mean, he's a KGB agent, killer, and then that's you look at him, photos of him when he was working for the KGB in Eastern Germany and whatever. You see that he's there's a killer. There's an unpredictable madman in there. Mm-hmm. Smart madman. That's always the archetype. I mean, people should have really believed in James Bond. I mean, that's James Bond, villain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah,
that's very true. It's a very good point.
I'm a bit worried about talking about Vladimir. I don't want someone turning up my door.
Well, excuse me, Dan. If Peter can sit there and say that in Finland, you and I have nothing to worry about.
I'm like, Peter, it's okay. Are we allowed to say this?
No, unfortunately,
yes,
we would like to, we love to live peace here in Finland, and we've always been aware of the real threat. It's not coming from the West. The Swedes are not going to attack us, or the Norwegians, or anybody else. It's always the Russians, and that's what our military has always been trained for. But only, of course, lately, because of Russians' actions, we can say that, okay, our friendliness is sort of over, and we don't want to attack them, heaven's sake. We just want to keep our country free and safe, and that's why we have one of the biggest armies in Europe. So it's strongest armies, and now with NATO, we hope that there is an even stronger one. And but of course, they've always been there harassing us, so we know about their shenanigans, and it's just the way of life, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's, I'm British. We don't really have that threat from a neighbor. We're a little island for the most part. It's pretty hard.
You kept invading your neighbors until you put them into your country.
We were actually the invaders. That's a fair point. But what I mean is, I guess I don't have that mindset that maybe people living in those border countries to places like Russia have, because I don't have to worry and think about it. Whereas when Russia invaded Ukraine, my ignorance, because I'm not in that position and I don't really have to worry because it's not super close. I didn't even think of that whole kind of line of countries that the borders must have, the hairs stood up on the back of the neck of the people, being like, oh well, maybe we're next. Maybe they want this, and that's something that we all probably could empathize with, and maybe just take a second to like look at perspective from other areas that aren't our own. Yeah,
it's unfortunate that that the war is going on, raging there, and it's of course it's pretty close now that we're talking about this subject. It's close to the Viking world. Of course, Vikings were in their own right, from other people's perspective, they were terrorists, and they were conquerors, and they made people slaves, and that's what Russia is trying to do now. And I think it's quite valid to talk about it, because it's actually happening now again. Humanity hasn't, all the Russians haven't really, they showed bared their true selves again. Unfortunately, that they can't seem to get enough of oil and gas and gold and diamonds and whatever in their own country, which is one of such a huge country. I mean, why are they doing this? Except just out of boredom, out of pure evil. I mean, they would have it all. Scientists, wonderful art. Why oppress other people? So that's especially these little countries here in the Baltic and Nordic countries, where of course we're worried about that, and just appalled of the way they're conducting themselves. And it's such a way now to make this good. I mean, the Second World War has taken 80 years sort of to start to sort of warm up relations with Russia, and Finland has always been sort of being on good terms with Russians or the Soviets for a good reason. But now it's like we can't, and of course our brothers in Ukraine, we are feeling it, like most of the Europe is feeling their pain and the loss of innocent lives and all that oppression. I have actually we have a little charity thing going on. I have a hobby. I make knives. I forge knives, and
wow. That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's because I have a farm where I live, and that's one more thing to do there. But it takes your mind off things, and it's an interesting art form also. But we have this charity going on at the moment. It's an auction that you can bid on. It's online, and the auction place is called Hellman Auctioneer, and we're 25 blacksmiths, and we've forged 31 knives altogether, and they're collector's items, but like me, I made my knives for use as well. So it was there are all kinds of ways. I mean, of course, people want to help people over in Gaza, and I do that as well. But maybe my main idea is helping Ukraine. So it's and a lot of Finnish people are really doing their best in aiding Ukrainians. So it's one way of sort of pitching in by forging knives out of is actually the metal we got there. It's like leaf springs from a vehicle that was destroyed in Ukraine.
Wow.
And all the eight trucks that go from Finland to Ukraine, they brought back the leaf springs here, and then we forged the leaf springs into knives. So, and it's the owner of the car, the brave warrior, he died on the battlefield. So it's in his honor, but all the proceeds go in total. They go through this Finnish organization for medical equipment, for clothes, diapers, cars, and gear for the military. So let's see where do we pinpoint the money? Yeah.
And that was Hellman's auctioneer, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Have they sold now, or are they still?
They're still. You can be a part of the auction. You have to register in the auction before the 7th. So you'll get in, and it's an online auction. You can leave a bid, or you can be online when it actually happens. But you can leave like a bid over there, and then it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's an interesting. I was there yesterday at their auction place to see the knives. They put them all on display, and it's a fantastic array of beautiful knives. And it was kind of emotional to see all the knives together for the last time before they are shipped to their new owners. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I have to give you credit, Peter, for being very kind of outspoken about things like this, because I would assume that and certainly for actors that we spoke to in the past, most of them will say they want to stay off kind of topics like this or stay out of anything political, because I assume they're probably advised by an agent maybe too. So it's very refreshing to have somebody who is very open and says and is willing to say things how they are, especially because it is, something that affects the country that you're from and obviously passionate about. It is refreshing to see that honesty from somebody in that kind of a higher profile position, because most people probably tend not to.
Yeah, it's understandable, and everybody takes their. I mean, it's of course it's easy and gives maybe gives you some sort of a reputation of I don't know what, but I think I was taught sort of in my mind righteous morals from my family. So it's on my grandfather urged me to do the right thing. So I feel this is the right thing.
Absolutely. And hopefully, more people do. And particularly, again, when it comes from somebody in your position or, others, it does trickle down and people do take note of that and think, oh, well, if they care, then maybe I can do something. And it does have that effect. And so I do wish people were more open with it and just happy to say things maybe how they are, because it does hopefully have a positive effect on those around.
Yeah, and it's just you don't have to have like a organization to help other people. You can pitch in just a little trinklet, and if everybody does that, of course, it's a huge effect. Then, I mean, you don't have to put hundreds or thousands of euros or dollars or whatever into charities. You can socks, like my producer friend. She's a that's her hobby. She knits woolen socks, and then she sends them over to Ukraine, and so that's quite
Wow.
quite lovely in that sense.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
is. And I really love that mindset because it can get so overwhelming with all the terribleness in the world of being like, we can't, like, feeling like it's all on the individual to kind of fix everything. But it's really lovely, like, kind of that reminder of like, you know what, actually, all the little things help. If everyone does little things, it will help.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
adds up.
Absolutely.
Eventually becomes a bigger thing. Okay, before we run out of time, I do want to pull back to the Vikings a little bit.
Yeah.
We did say that we were gonna, it was free to talk about whatever
We
we
are
wanted,
winging it.
and no, rightfully so. It's an important topic because, again, quite ignorantly, I think that the news cycle is so fast that the Ukraine and Russia conflict gets overlooked by then Palestine and Israel and Gaza, and everything is fed into another news event that kind of takes over for the most part, unless you're in those affected areas. So I think it is important to mention it and bring it back to light and make sure it does stay in people's mind that it is still happening, even though it isn't been put out by the mainstream media as much as it should be. So it's a good thing to talk about it for a little bit, but we
Thanks for
talk a little bit
letting
more
me talk
Vikings
about that.
a touch.
Let's do it.
Oh,
Of course.
absolutely no. I should do. But I'm curious about you as a person, as an actor. Do you have much ties to, or do you have much interest, I guess, in the Viking Age and Norse mythology? Because I guess Finland is that country that's part of Scandinavia, but often not mentioned too much when it comes to the Viking Age and the Vikings. So is that something that you learned as a youth? Was it something that you were interested in, that you kind of actively sought out a role like that, or was it just there and you thought that'd be fun?
Yeah, of course, Finland is officially a part of the Nordic countries, but Scandinavia is Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland, and
Okay.
And we have our own sort of mythology called Kalevala, and it's a Finnish similar kind of a story, similar kind of gods, a lot to do with nature, and some violence in there as well. But it's basically the similar belief, and of course we are a part of the Viking nations because of our coastal routes and a lot of the, I guess, the most prominent. I've heard this somewhere. I've read most prominent DNA in the world at the moment is on the west coast of Finland. So you can find, like, in good and bad, like let's say, like, whatever diseases inherited with that DNA, you can find those diseases on the west coast. And my sister being affected by one of them autoimmune kind of a diseases or illnesses. And but of course, on a happier note, on a more interesting note, in Finland we have an amazing amount of Viking treasure and weaponry found, because a lot of the, especially Swedish kings and earls, they came to Finland to safety because of the skirmishes back home. So they came over to Finland, and they fought with local Finns, but they never really set settled here in Finland, except on the coasts. And the middle parts of Finland, of course, the sea was way back higher in Finland back then, but the middle parts of Finland, they were, forest Finns, small earldoms and such. They were quite stubborn people, so they were not easy to conquer, I guess. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of Viking artifacts here in Finland, and of course the merch, the routes to Russia and went through Finland or Finnish waters and so forth. So there's a lot of that, and through Kalevala, I guess Finnish kids are always introduced into the mythology of the Vikings as well. It's a little bit different, but it's at least I was just mesmerized by everything about Kalevala and then about Viking mythology afterwards. And of course, when my dear friend, my brother in films, Jasper Päkkönen, and we got cast into the roles of Harald and Halfdan, we were both very excited to be a part of our history. So it was such a thrill. And when we came to Ireland, where we shot it, and we saw the I would say grandeur of. I mean, we had both been in a lot of films together and separately, and but that was like the amazingness of the set, of the backlot. The whole Kattegat was built there, and tens of houses and boats in the middle of it all, and it was just sort of a dream come true for an actor, and especially for me as a history buff, to stand there, not seeing any cameras, any modern equipment. You just see 600 extras looking like you, and it was just like I'm traveling.
That's gotta have been crazy fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's actually fun that you mentioned that, because that was something that I was curious, that I was considering asking earlier, but then I was like, no, Max, you're not, you don't do, you're not into the film industry, so you don't really know how this works. Because I was curious about whether it felt like you were actually in another time.
Yeah.
So I guess you already answered that.
Yeah. At its best, acting is, total immersion. It doesn't happen all the time. Mm-hmm. But when it happens, it has happened to me, at least on several movies, that it's okay. I can make believe that this is actually real, and it's got a lot to do with what you actually see and sense around you.
Does that help? Yeah. So, does that help with the role when it's more immersive like that, rather than, I imagine a lot of films now are recorded in front of a big green screen and with certain suits on that pick up the movements, and does that, as an actor, does that kind of give a separation versus that immersive experience where you see everything around you?
Yeah, of course, it's it helps actors, I'm sure. At least I might think that it would you would be maybe more relaxed in that kind of a situation. You don't have to act, you're just live in it. So it's like you have when you have decided what you're going to portray and what is your thought at that moment, that's it. And just be in that moment, and you can be more free in a way. Then maybe if you're in front of a LED screen or a green screen and you have to imagine things happening in front of you, or you have to react to a car that is coming at you and it's not a real car. It's like, okay, I try to do my best and best in the business of make believe. Yeah.
Imagine the dragons coming to breathe fire.
That's one of them.
How do you act that?
Yeah. But then there are ways, of course.
Yeah, you do your best, I guess.
Yeah.
But then again, that kind of
Yeah.
that kind of touches on Alan Wake and doing the voices, because is that similar, that you don't really get to, or do you get to see? Do they record the like cutscenes before you voice over them, or do you do the voices first?
Some of the scenes were made. Made, like they were not finished characters, but you could see them move, and you could see your character move without the face, of course, because the face is, of course, recorded, and so you could see that, but you could see like sometimes you'd see that, but sometimes it's just you. They let you. The director says that, okay, the atmosphere is this, and could you say that in a different kind of a tone, or you're afraid, or you're afraid at first, but then you get mad. Just a kind of a stupid example, but for example, like that. Alan Wake was an interesting project, very interesting, because a huge Finnish company, and of course Alan Wake, the gaming world is just amazing. It's incredible. I don't play games myself that much, but when I've seen at the Remedy office, I've seen people sort of exhibit that to me, the game, and it's just amazing how real it starts feeling, and the characters are alive all of a sudden there. But there are so many ways of making that, digital games and movies. I was in one Netflix movie a few years back. Love, Death, and Robots is a series. It's like an animation for adults, and quite graphic at times, as was my movie where I had the lead. It's called Snow in the Desert. It's like a 14-minute short movie, and it was really interesting because that was my first sort of adventure in that in motion caption and digital world. And it was really interesting because we did all the movements, and of course our facial. We had like two cameras on. We had a helmet with two cameras on, and it was really strange. But there we had only. They would show us the place where the scene takes place, and maybe some ambient music or some of the sound world. And then we would just play normally with other actors, so we could interact with other actors. But cars were just boxes of cardboard or something like that. So you have to imagine a lot. But it's of course that's what actors are trying to do.
Yeah. How have you found? Was Alan Wake the first time you'd done a video game?
Yes.
How have you, I guess, found not necessarily the fame or the fandom from video games to, because playing someone like Harald, it's very clearly you, but it like Vikings was a huge hit. But so let's say for me and Mags, who probably don't play too many video games, I don't think you game much, Mags, right?
Not anymore. I used to a few years ago, but then I started, doing my PhD, so I don't do that many.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
So even though Alan Wake is a game that I would enjoy, I'm just not much of a gamer. I don't get the time to game. So I know you from Vikings, whereas a really good friend of mine, he's not really into Viking TV shows that much. But I messaged him because I knew you were in Alan Wake, and I know he loves the game. And he's like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Like the two characters are fantastic. They're great." And he was like nerding out on the other side of things. I guess it covers all these different bases that maybe I don't realize how big of an area and a fan base these things actually have.
Yeah, it's huge, and I have, like I said, I'm not not a big gamer, so I'm kind of out of that world. But I understand the business side of it by what I've heard, and it's immense. It's so much bigger than the movie business. So it was such a pleasure to be a little part of that, and especially in a Finnish product, in a Finnish project. So that was those guys are amazing and super nice.
That always helps.
The nerd world was very welcoming.
Oh, that's lovely.
Nerds are always the nicest of people. But you said you're a history buff, so you're a nerd at heart.
Yes.
We're glad to have you.
So we're at the hour mark, so we'll wrap up and do that and let people ask you some questions. But I did want to just last question. It seems as though you do a lot of films. I don't want to say smaller films, but like films that are based, like, I guess, like national. That sounds kind of wrong. As in, like,
domestic Finnish productions. Is that what you're trying to say?
But not just Finnish ones. Because from looking through your IMDb earlier and the films you got, I think you said that you recorded movies in like 9 different languages or 9 different like independent countries. I don't know what I'm sure there's a term for that kind of national film rather than like a Hollywood movie. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. It's harder to get into a Hollywood movie than sort of Nordic films or European films. And I accept roles, and of course I'm in a happy position that people offer me roles, and sometimes it's lovely to be able to take a little bit life a little bit easier and not travel all the time, and then just make one film a year or so which interests me. And it's for instance to accept a part in a movie where the part is something that I've never played before. That basically has kept me interested in acting for such a long time, 30 plus years. And it's still intriguing me, all the new things that you learn when you're studying the character before you get into the character. So it's interesting, and I like traveling. So it's interesting to, as a side product, learn from other cultures as well. And of course, like I said, I'm very fortunate at the moment. So I of being able to choose a little bit what I work in.
Yeah, I guess what I was aiming at was that you seem like, even just across this conversation, you come across as a very well thought out individual. It's deeper than just, I want to make a film because he's going to pay a lot of money, which I'm sure is nice, but it seems as though you have your morals, which are clearly intact, and you would happily take a role on that you think is a good fit and works well, and it supports maybe certain areas, and rather than maybe other ones. It's kind of what I was getting at. That
right, yeah. That's what I'm aiming for, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you sometimes it backfires on you, and you step neck deep into some puddle that is not just water. So it's like, but hey, that's life too, and
hopefully it doesn't happen too often.
Luckily not. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. I mean, that's people probably have this.
To quote a great philosopher of my generation, Hannah Montana, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good, Hannah. Good on you.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that everybody probably has an unfair opinion maybe of actors, that everything's really easy, and everybody's human. Everybody has shitty days and makes mistakes, or things just go wrong and roles maybe don't go as you expect them to, just like the rest of us. Life gets
Absolutely.
all of us, I
It's
guess.
life. Yeah. It's a way
Mhm.
of way
Perfect.
of living this profession as well. Yeah. Way
Yeah.
of life.
All right, we'll wrap this up and then we'll let people ask you some questions
Cool.
quickly. Peter, I guess you don't need our help with followers, but if you do have it anywhere where people can find your work or your knives, I'm interested in the knives for sure. Where can people pick those up?
Yeah, if people are interested in participating in the auction, it's the Hellman HELLMAN auctions in Finland, and you can register on that. And as I said, it's so far it's a hobby. I get as an actor, so I don't make them for sale. But it's
okay.
It's an interesting hobby.
You don't have to diversify your income just yet.
I was just wondering if I could
hopefully
pick
not.
up a Peter Franzén knife.
Yeah,
that's what I was hoping for. I was like, can I buy one?
Well, register for the auction, Dan.
That's true. Yeah, I will do.
Yeah.
Margs, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Archeomags, Archeo with a K.
Perfect. And then for me, it's Daniel_Fireand1. Horns of Odin for the business, and then Nordic Mythology podcast across the board to find us and what we do.